Hey, I think it's going to be a quick one today. All we need is enough time to take a look at what's inside this white box. So probably 15 years ago now, my friend Chris Murray from Joe Declassified had mentioned to me about something pertaining to this, and I became interested. I went online and I bought this set off of eBay, figuring that it was just a shipper box that was on the outside of this, and the item inside is kind of revealed whenever you see that it says Tonka GI Joe right on the end of it. But then whenever I got it in, I kind of felt guilty and I didn't want to open it, because on this end, it actually says, "This is a pre-production sample. It has not been child safety tested, not for resale." I am guessing that maybe this is one of the first ones to come back to Hasbro as a sample, and then they would probably use this for transit tests, drop tests, maybe to test the paint in it, to test the stickers, to check for sharp edges, all the various safety tests that they do. They have to have samples on hand to do that too. And so this was probably one of the ones that was spared from actually being tested whenever the others must have passed the tests, because I didn't want to open this one up, but very recently I was at the Pittsburgh Toy Show and I ran into Charles from Main Street Geek, and he gave me a really good deal on a set, and whenever I compared the two of them, I could find absolutely no difference. No difference in the bubble, no difference in the placement of the items, no difference in any of the colors, no difference in anything. There isn't really any possible way for me to do a comparison of these to show some kind of difference without indicating that they are exactly the same. So I'm going to grab that one, and then we're going to open it and take a look at what's inside. Now, as you can see, chunks of plastic are already starting to come off of this thing, so I don't really feel too bad opening up such an old toy. So let's get this thing completely open. I guess first we'll take a look at the action figures included, since I think that's what will interest people the most. I'm not going to go into too much detail regarding the G.I. Joe micro figures. There's great coverage of those elsewhere. Form BX257 did a great review of all 20 of the original micro figures, so if you haven't seen his video, I really suggest checking that out, of course after you're done watching this one. The package doesn't actually call any of these figures by name, and it actually calls them G.I. Joe minifigures, and they are made of a harder plastic. I don't believe that they are PVC like the originals, because they don't really flex whenever I bend them. I'm not going to bend the end of the guns because I don't want them to snap. But the copyrights are the same, and the sculpts are the same, and you probably recognize this one as Duke. Next up, we have Gung Ho. Of course, totally unpainted, as all three of these were included unpainted. There was another set that I don't have, but I've been looking for it, and it includes only one of these figures, and the one figure that it includes is a tan Duke figure. I have seen that. 3D Joe's has posted it on Facebook, and again, if you watch the Form BX video, Form BX257, you can see that tan Duke in there. So I don't feel too bad, because you're going to be able to see that elsewhere. But I'm kind of digging in and just kind of giving a little bit of a close-up of what is in this set. This is the third figure in there, and as was pointed out by Carson from 3D Joe's, and also in the Form BX257 video, while this figure was released as Bazooka, I really can't call it Bazooka because it doesn't have any paint. And if you look at the sculpt, it's far more likely that this is actually Footloose, because the way that the pants and the boots are, it's more like Footloose. The weapon that he's using is actually more like the one Footloose comes with rather than Bazooka. And there is the camouflage foliage on the hat that is a Footloose thing, not a Bazooka thing. So while there are details that don't quite fit both, I would say that the details of this correlate to Footloose more than the details on some of the other microfigures do to their actual respective regular figure. So the figures in this obviously are the main reason why I wanted this set, and I am definitely happy to have them. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other things included. The Harrier Jet is pretty nice. One of the things that kind of surprised me whenever I opened these up is I expected all of the smaller details on these to be stickers, like decals that have been peeled off and put on, and that's just not the case. Some of these have decals, some of them have tampographs, which is paint that is applied with a pad printer, and some of them have a mixture of the two. This one, it's a mixture of the two. The G.I. Joe logos on the top, those are stickers, whereas the other details on the sides, those are mostly tampographs. Next up, we have an Lav25 Tank. It has the elevating cannon and a rotating turret and the 8 moving wheels that are on what feels like metal axles. So this is a really well-constructed little toy. Then let's take a look at the military assault vehicle, is what it is referred to as. It does have a rotating weapon up top. Next up, we have the Apache Helicopter. This one, to me, feels really appropriate because it would have come out somewhere around the same time as the G.I. Joe Desert Apache, which was also an Apache helicopter, and that one was actually a repaint from another toy line called Flying Fighters, which is super interesting because there were also some F-14s included in that line. None of them reused as a Sky Striker, obviously, because the Flying Fighters Apache could just barely, if you took the 2 seats out of it, it could just barely fit an action figure with his arms out the windows. So it was kind of adapted, and I don't know, but maybe you could actually get an original Flying Fighters one in green and repaint it to kind of look like this one. These G.I. Joe logos are on a curved surface, and as we know from some other decals, such as like with the Oz Striker, when you try to put decals on a curved surface that is small, they have a tendency to peel up. These aren't going to peel up because it's paint. I'm going to hold my favorite one for last and skip ahead to Joe Convoy Go. Some G.I. Joe semi-truck. So the lowboy trailer and the big rig cab. This one does have decals, and yeah, here's the peril of a decal. Not quite placed on there properly. I may try to peel that end up and put it back on. But it just says here, G.I. Joe Combat Engineers, which I actually think is kind of cool to call out the combat engineers and to kind of state that this is maybe some sort of vehicle that you'd see Toll Booth using. And then we have my favorite, which is the F-14. Of course, that's a Sky Striker. What better vehicle to include in a G.I. Joe military set than the Sky Striker? All the detail here up front is a sticker. These in the back are stickers. And then it does open geared. The wings are geared. And those are also stickers. And then last but not least, we have what they call the observation tower / landing pad. This same set is used on the same page in the Toy Fair catalog for a racing set that has the observation tower placed the other direction so that you could take figures, if you like, and put them in it. That's not going to work for the G.I. Joe one because then you would have your stickers upside down. Imagine maybe they could have just left those stickers off, but then it just would have looked not as fun. The microfigures are, I guess I should say the minifigures, because that's what the box says. Those are the most attractive part to me. Recently, Jada Toys put out this big set of metal figures, nano metal figures, and I think that they actually go well together. There are your 2 Dukes. They're relatively decently sized to go together. I kind of enjoy it for that reason. But as we are fans of Action Man as well, here on Articulated Points, I thought that maybe I should mention that there's also a set of Action Man minifigures that are available that are roughly the same size. As you can see, Action Man here with Duke. The style of them is a little bit different, but on the shelf they don't do too bad. It's a set of 6. It includes, of course, Action Man. Flint, that's Flint with a Y, the Action Man character, not the G.I. Joe, obviously. And Red Wolf, and then the enemy's No Face. And then there's 2 of the X robots, which I think one of them may be actually the real Dr. X, or he doesn't look like he is. It's definitely mimicking the toy of the X robot, so I have to think that that's what it is. It's just hard for me to think that they released these without releasing Dr. X. It's very strange, but they're pretty cool, and I thought that I would give them a mention as well. Okay, so to recap some of the Tonka product we've seen so far, before I wrap up this video, we had the previous talking point that Philip did, where he showed 4 G.I. Joe Tonka vehicles that actually fit 3 3/4 inch figures. And then in another previous episode, we also talked about some accessories that were from G.I. Joe and were reused for Tonka in a few of their various sets. And Roger Taft actually pointed us in the direction of some of those that were produced. So we've seen those, we've seen the vehicles. And then there was the other set that was the desert set. There was also a set that included 2 mini figures, but really they were just kind of cardboard cutouts of Duke and Snake Eyes. But that's roughly from around the same time as the sets that we were talking about today with the tan and the green minifigures. So it kind of makes a third one in this mini subset of Tonka vehicles. But as I was looking through this Hasbro Spring catalog, I actually also noticed a later set of vehicles that I'd not really noticed before. The electronic helicopter was released in other Tonka sets, but I'm not sure if the G.I. Joe deco ever came out. But if it did, let us know. I'm really curious if you've seen any other Tonka stuff. We kind of have a trend here going on talking about G.I. Joe and Tonka. So is there anything else that you have found? I would love to find out more about that tan set and why it seems to be harder to find than the set that I just got that I kind of think is better anyway, with 3 figures in it instead of just 1. Let me know what you think, and we will hopefully post another video soon.
Thanks for watching this episode of Articulated Points. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'd appreciate it if you would like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to learn more about some of the toys featured in this episode or want to follow us on social media, links are in the description below this video.